Hey everybody, I'm going to be going over today model example number 3 for activity 4.8c and showing you the way in which I would go ahead and build it. This figure is a little more challenging than the previous two, and really it's because you really need to determine right from the beginning how and what strategy you're going to use to build it. And there are lots of different ways you can build it. And the best suggestion that I can make is you need to pick a view or a surface that you want to build first. So are you going to build it from the top and build it up? Are you going to build it from the front and build it back? Are you going to build it from the side, the right side, and then build it across? Okay, so it's really, you could do it in many different ways. The way in which I'm going to do it is I'm going to use the top view and then draw a rectangle and then extrude it up and then do the cutouts as necessary. So that means if I'm going to do it from the top view, the dimensions that I need to know then are the depth dimension, okay, so from the front edge to the back, and then the width dimension. So the overall width, if you notice that they don't give us an overall size of it, what they do is they break it up into little parts here. So if you notice, it's half from this left edge to here, and then 1.5 in the middle, and then another half. So if we add that together, that's going to give us a width of 2.5. Okay, so that is where I'm going to start. So just like we do normally, go ahead into Onshape. We're going to go ahead and hit Create. I'm going to create a document. We're going to call it Model Example 3 underscore your last name, and then hit OK. And once it opens up again, we have our three default work planes, top, front, right. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to be using the top work plane. So that means I'm going to hide the front and the right. Now, when I do that, again, I'm going to create a sketch. And then I'm going to choose the top work plane. And that creates a sketch on the top. And then I'm going to use, go ahead and click on the top view of my view cube to square that up. Now, even though I'm looking at it straight on, I'm actually looking at it from the top down. So I'm looking down upon this shape. So imagine that you're up here looking straight down, and that's what I'm going to create. I'm going to just create a rectangle to start. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and use my rectangle tool, and then for this one, I'll just go ahead and in this case, I'll do a corner rectangle to start, and I'll just use the front corner here. And again, you could use center point rectangle to start as well. Okay, and again, I'm just going to create a rectangle of space and not really worry about the distance just yet. I'm going to dimension that next. So once I have my rectangle drawn, then I'm going to go ahead and hit dimension. So now the top edge or the bottom edge is going to act as my width. So that again was 2.5. So I'm going to click the top edge and type in 2.5. Hit enter. If it starts to shift off the screen, go ahead and hit top view again, and that'll just square it up. And then my right side is actually my depth, which is the front to the back, and that was 3.5, and then hit enter. Okay, so that right there gives me the basic area that I'm going to need for my rectangle, and everything else is going to get built on top of it. If we look though at the figure though, we notice we have this cutout section. Now I could extrude it right now and then add another sketch on top of my surface and then cut this little rectangle out, or I could do it right now in sketch mode and just draw the rectangle in. So I'll go ahead and do that since I'm already there. So that means I'm going to add another corner rectangle, and I'm going to make it from the front to the back 1.5 and then from the left edge 1. Okay, and that'll give me the distance that I need. And then it's also 1.5 inch apart. Okay, so that means I'm going to select corner rectangle again. I'm not going to draw it in the corner because as you could see in the image, it was a little more on the interior. So I'm going to draw it from here. I'm going to go up. Again, I'm not real worried about the size right now. So once I have the rectangle drawn, now I'm going to go ahead and dimension it. So the top edge is 0.5. Enter. And then the depth of that was 1.5. And then the dimension from the outer edge on both sides was 1 inch. So then I'm going to choose the left edge of the rectangle I drew and the left edge of my figure, and I'm going to make that 1 inch. Now I don't need to dimension on the other side because if this is 1 and this is 1/2 and this is 1, that's 2.5. All right. Now, the last step before I can extrude it is I need to cut out this middle edge. And again, if you remember from the last video, the trim tool is the one we use to cut lines that we draw. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on the little scissors icon. I'm going to come down to the rectangle I drew and select the bottom edge. And again, I might need to click 2 times to cut the whole edge away. And now it leaves a little gap here. And now I'm ready to extrude. So I'm going to go ahead and click the little green box with the check mark. That'll finish the sketch. I'll go to isometric view and turn it. And then I'm now ready to extrude it. So I'm going to go up with the extrusion, okay, because this is acting, even though it says the top, it's kind of like acting as the floor or the foundation on my figure. So how far do I need to extrude? Well, if you notice from the bottom edge up to this edge, it's 1 inch. But I also notice that I have a back section here, okay? So again, there's multiple options you could do. You could extrude it all the way up 2.5 and then cut away a larger rectangle, or we could do this in stages and go up 1 and then add a rectangle to the back. Completely up to you how you want to do it, but that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm just going to extrude it up 1 inch and then add a rectangle to the top to finish off this back section here. So I'm going to go back to my figure. I'm going to go ahead and click extrude. I'm going to select my figure, and we know it already defaults to 1 inch, so that's going to be my measurement. And so once I'm there, I'm going to go ahead and hit the green checkbox. And then I'll go back to isometric view. Okay. Now, notice I still have my top work plane still showing. So again, I'm going to go ahead and hide that because I don't need that anymore. Now, to complete my figure, okay, I'm going to add another sketch to the top, and that's going to be placed on the back of my figure here so that I can extrude it up and give that area that I need. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click sketch. I'm going to choose the top surface of the figure that I extruded, not the top plane, the top surface. So I'm going to click here on top. Again, now it adds a sketch 2 on that top surface. And again, I'm now going to choose the top view on my view cube to square that up. Okay, and I might need to zoom out a little bit. And again, I'm going to use corner rectangle, but let's figure out what the dimensions are. So the rectangle now from the top left corner now of my view is going to be 1 inch, and then it's going to go all the way across. So I know it's just going to go all the way across, so I don't even need to really worry about that too much. So I'm going to click corner rectangle. I'm going to choose the top left corner. Make sure you get the little circle with the dot on it, or the square with the dot. Click there, and you're going to drag it all the way to the other side. Okay. And once you do the other side, you just click it, so that way you know you have the accurate width. Then I'm going to go and select the dimension tool, and then I'm going to select my left edge, drag out, and make it 1 inch, and hit enter. And then I'm going to hit the green check mark. And now I'm going to hit isometric view because now I'm ready to extrude. And so I want this part to come up again, just as I did in the first extrusion, but I need to know how far. So if my overall height is 2.5 and I've already extruded at 1, the difference of that is going to be 1.5. So that's going to be my extrusion. So I'm going to go ahead and hit extrude. I'm going to choose this back rectangle. I'm going to change my depth to 1.5, and I'm going to hit enter. And again, you might need to hit isometric view to make sure you can see it, and then hit the green checkbox. Now, last but not least, there is a section missing from this area here that gets removed from our figure. So now I need to create a sketch on this front surface of our figure. So again, let's figure out the dimensions first. So that's this area here. So I notice that the height of that rectangle is going to be 0.5 and the width is going to be 1.5, and then from the outer edges on each side it's going to be 0.5. So I'm going to go ahead, click sketch. I'm going to choose this front surface here, and then notice I now have a sketch 3. I'm going to change my view to the front so I can focus on that. And I'm just squaring it up. And so now I'm going to use corner rectangle again. Again, this time I'm not going to go in the corner. I'm going to go slightly inside the corner. But again, starting on my top edge, I'm going to click and just drag across. And now we're going to make it the size that we want. So again, just double checking the dimensions. The height is 0.5, the width is 1.5, and the dimension from the outside edge is 0.5. So I'm going to click the dimension tool. So my height is 0.5. My width is 1.5. And then from the outer edge to the outer edge of the rectangle is also 0.5. And that will center the location of that rectangle. So now I'm good there. I don't need to trim anything because I actually need to remove the material that's already there. So I'm going to do an extrude remove. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the green checkbox. I'm going to change it back to isometric view. And for my last step, I'm going to go ahead and choose extrude. And this time I'm going to select remove. And then I'm going to change my blind to through all because it cuts all the way through. And then I'm going to choose the little rectangle I just drew. That'll cut it all away, and then hit the green checkbox. I'm going to change it, make sure it's centered so it's an isometric view. And there is our model example 3. If you have any questions, let me know.